Well, apologies for that technical hitch, and we're back. I think we had expounded some more on the issue of COVID-19, and we leave it at that. Yes, we cross over to the revenue share stalemate that is ongoing, and we talk of a scenario where the Senate resumes sitting, and the main focus now is how they can get the county's car sharing formula addressed ASAP. In what, of course, the Speaker says they are determined and focused towards ensuring that, they get answers today. They will ban midnight oil if need be, at least to get a lasting solution in this scenario. As we get to wind up towards the last laps of the session, what are your expectations, gentlemen? I'll start off with Eric.
What I know is that today we are going to get a formula.
Yeah.
Today is the 10th, or rather 11th trial, because the 10th one, yakina Malala walishikwa, so there was nothing. So this is the 11th trial. We'll get a formula. One, there is pressure from the ground. Money has not been paid. Nurses and doctors are planning on a strike because of that. They have not been paid. Even the emergency, having to work under strenuous situations because of COVID, they have not been paid. And some counties are already contemplating taking loans from institutions, bank and what have you, to pay salaries as they wait. I heard that from Kisumu. They wanted to get 400 million from elsewhere. Some counties have threatened to ground down, like Meru threatened to just stop working and wait for the government to pay. All this pressure is coming back now to senators. And they are being pointed, boss, sisi tunataka pesa. Tulipo pesa tuendelee na maisha yetu. Tujalipo mishahara miezi mbili tatu. So what will happen here is that we're going to get a formula. We should get something very sober that all Kenyans love and all Kenyans can work with. Or we'll have some part of the country laughing, the other part of the country not laughing. And one thing I also want to advise is that there is no more human than the other. You cannot tell me just because a certain part of the country has many people and another part doesn't have many people, is that part gives more revenue or not. You can have a country with fewer people but wealthier than a country that with many people. We've seen that. A country like Nigeria is not as wealthy as Switzerland. Why? So Nigeria is bigger economy than Switzerland, yes, but is not wealthier than the other one, yes. So you can have a big economy, but not wealthy. You can have a county that has fewer people that can bring more money to the exchequer than a county that is so populated. Population is just because of nearness to some of these infrastructure that are usually essential for human development or human being continuity of life. I'll give an example of Turkana County. You have oil, and we have many other things. And it's the biggest country you have. How many things can we get from Turkana? Even water, we are told water under Turkana alone, the water they have underground can give us livelihood for many years. So if we can tap in those resources, then Turkana still is the wealthiest. But you can have Nairobi as the most populous, with a big economy, but not the wealthiest. So let's look at all these factors together and say we are diverse, and that's why we are Kenya, and give something that gives us happiness, a good livelihood, and remember, it's all one Kenya.
All right. Yes. Well, amazing right there. Still witnessed the level of the counties is a do or die situation at the Senate. They have to give a solution so at least they can unlock the deadlock that is being witnessed across the counties. Coming to you, Edward, first of all, apologies for interrupting your line of thoughts earlier on, but coming to this subject of the stalemate of revenue sharing, what are your expectations moving on?
First of all, I'd like to be very honest and blunt in this issue. Let's be sober. The Constitution had envisioned that indeed Kenya was a very unequal country, and the revenue distribution was being distributed in a very unequal and discriminatory manner. And that's why when the Constitution came in, the first formula, for example, that was used was about the land mass. Because if you look, the northern frontier of Kenya was one of the most affected areas because there were no roads, there was no infrastructure, there was no nothing there. So we were all in agreement that indeed, in order for these people to, and their Kenyans, in order for their regions to be able to catch up, they need more money put in the revenue share. However, let's be sincere. The Constitution also said that we have other methods or other formulas that we also need to put in place so that we'll be able to try and see that we are not hurting this side and this side is not just gaining. So that's why the CRA gave another formula using the population, because we had already tried the land mass and it was working. But at the same time, what were the effects of that and what were the learning lessons? You see, I think Kenyans are very highly politicized in everything. I mean, everything is just about politics. When you say you have, say, for example, in central Kenya, for example, in an area like Kiambu, you have people, you have about, say, 2 million Kenyans living in Kiambu. Yeah. Take those 2 million people, take about 70%, maybe 1.3 million or 1 million are actually school-going children. How much do these school-going children receive in this formula? Maybe they get 4,000 shillings per year. Then you find, because of the other areas which are landmass and there are less population, you'll find a child getting 20,000, which is good. But now, don't you think it's time that we consider this child who's getting 4,000, in order for him to access better education, in order for him to access more services, don't you think it's time for that population to go? And just to sum up, this discussion should be the agriculture, the revenue share they're talking about. How are they going to divide it? Or are we talking about sharing revenue so that governors can take money and be corrupt about it? If they are talking about agriculture, the Mapato Protocol, how much percent does it envision that every African government should invest in agriculture? Are we there yet? Not yet. Look at energy. He just talked about Turkana, my brother. All the resource that we have there in Turkana, should we invest money just because we are saying we're investing because of a landmass, or is it supposed to be targeting a certain input that will be used to benefit the country? Look at infrastructure. So the money should be divided into sectors, not just saying that, oh, we need a lot of money to go where? This is a very corrupt country, and I believe these politicians that we have even in the Senate have really shown us that this is just about their own stomach and their own selfish thing. It's not about the people on the ground. It's not about the people in Turkana. It's not about the people in Kiambu or in Nyanza or in Mombasa. It is about their stomachs and egocentric behavior. And this is what we need to change. We need the politicians to focus on legislation, and simple as that. But when they bring politics in every little thing, we Kenyans are the ones who are losing. Like my brother said, some counties are being forced to take loans. How are these loans being taken? Are we guaranteed that this money is not going to be misused by the same politicians? So therefore, I feel that we need to have a candid discussion as Kenyans, involving the politicians and everybody else, but we need to speak the truth and be sober. If we need to get another formula, let us try another formula. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Edward Githaiga, youth leader and CEO Vision 2030 equally. Thank you so much, Eric Regalo, for the great insights that you've given to us this morning. And we all are setting our eyes to see what it is that the Senate will do this time around. And you can always trust TV47 to update you on the same as and when we get this information. That's where we get to wind up this session of current affairs as we cross over to matters lifestyle. And the biggest question today, or the topic of discussion, is how best you can cope with divorce. We hear that very many cases of divorce have been reported at this time of COVID-19. But just how are you able to cope with the same? After this break.